children. But dumping billions of dollars at schools that are failing isn't the way to do it. How do you fix education? Well, first of all, we start to fix our families. James Madison's mother taught him to read and write. John Quincy Adams was homeschooled until the age of 9. You think these guys? What about this guy? Abraham Lincoln. He was homeschooled. His mother taught him to read. His mother, from borrowed books. The story goes that Thomas Edison, his teachers thought he was feeble-minded, unteachable. He was kicked out of school. Mom taught Edison, you know, the light bulb guy, how to do it at home. It makes no sense to teach the way we've been teaching over the last 100 years, especially since the technology that we have. Our founders and many others proved that you don't need money to get a great education. You need a desire. You need a good book. We need to get control of our schools back to the parents, back to the states. The best way to do this is to abolish the Department of Education. We certainly don't need to be giving them more money.
I'm Ben Stein. The Department of Education does not teach one child how to read or do arithmetic. It needs to go. Goodbye, Department of Education.
It's time to take on the defense budget. Roll up your sleeves. Here we go. The United States spends approximately $102 billion to maintain our troops around the rest of the world. Watch this. This is for our fleets around the world, the bases overseas. Okay, $102 billion on overseas defense. Add to that about $148 billion just on Iraq and Afghanistan. That's $250 billion. Why? Why? Half of the world's expenditures. Why? Here's the deal. I'm tired of being the world's policeman. We can't do it anymore. But in most cases, we're not the world's policemen. We're the world's loiterers. We need to have a new no loitering policy. And that policy comes from the progressives. The Republicans, they say, we're going to send the green helmets in, and we're going to nation build our way to global security. Be more like us. The liberals, the Democratic progressives, they say, we'll do it through the United Nations. We'll send in the blue helmets, which we pay for. This doesn't work. The idea of let's take our armies and eventually put blue helmets or green helmets on them doesn't work. I don't want a global government. I don't want a global military force. And for all of the Donald Rumsfelds out there who are watching me cursing me out right now because this is no time to get rid and cut defense spending, this will help. Are you ready? This is the world's spending. This is how much, this is who accounts for all of the military spending in the world. Here it is. There's South Asia, Africa. This part is Russia right here. Here's the Middle East, East Asia. Here's China. This is all Europe. Here's America. Almost half of every dollar spent on all military expenditures in the entire globe, we spend 47% of it. The next biggest spender is Europe. That, by the way, is not a country. That's a whole collection of countries. 20%. $289 billion is what they spend on military-related expenses. $289 billion for everything. We spend $250 billion protecting their ass and fighting a war we're supposed to be partners with. For our defense? Don't tell me we can't afford to cut back, because we can. We've already found over $400 billion to trim from the budget, and we've just done a few things. All we need is commitment and common sense. But we also need an understanding. We need to have a real dialogue with Americans.
I vote for the plan. Do you? Next, what Glenn says is particularly bankrupting America. Big Labor's unfunded pension plans are bankrupting America. The next chapter in the fundamental transformation of our economy starts right now.
See if this makes any sense to you. California fireman. Big fat guy. He retires at the age of 50. He's making $125,000 a year. He'll retire with a pension approximately $94,000 a year. 50. Now, how many people does it take underneath him to pay for that pension? 19. 19. 19 firemen underneath him paying for his retirement, making $50,000 a year, and putting 10% of their salaries into his pension. All of them have to take 10% and pay it here. Well, that's not happening in a lot of cities. Highest we found was 8%. Some are 6%. Some are 4%. Most are 0. You pay it all. So the unions have convinced the firefighters that this was sustainable. And the politicians helped them. Now, when these 19 firefighters retire to pay their pensions, how many? Only 352 firefighters making $50,000 a year and putting 10% of their salaries into pension to pay for 1 year of each of those firefighter pensions. Man, I think your small town will never, ever, they'll be there with water and a match. How many firefighters do you need, America? You see, we all wanted to buy into the bull crap. We all said it'll never get worse than this. We all said it'll never end. We all bought into the lie that you can have it all. It's a lie. It works for one generation. One. And then what? These people who have risked their lives get screwed, and they blame it on you and me. It is the union. It are the criminal union bosses, along with politicians, that they don't care anything about you or the Constitution or the Republic or your city. They don't care. Let's look at these cities. These are the cities that are cutting teachers off and cops, and they need help from the federal government. Let's just see how many of these economies are being collapsed by the Workers of the World Unite unions and their pensions. In Oakland, they laid off 80 cops right after the riots because public pension deals made during the boom times, well, we can't afford them anymore. Check. Philadelphia, unions are fighting to keep devastating pension plans on the books, like the deferred retirement option that now has cost the city $258 million in the last 10 years. Check. Baltimore, the unions fighting pension reductions, even though the cuts are necessary to avert fiscal disaster in the city. Check. Newark, $16.7 million deficit. Chicago, don't worry about Chicago. Chicago, here's their budget. No biggie with Chicago. They're only $654 million in the hole. But they got nice fountains. All of these cities are falling apart. Yeah, I don't think it's the tough economy or the Bush politics. I'm not a fan of George W. Bush. But no one in the media will tell you that. No. I'm a big Republican. It's all the economy. All the economy is doing is exposing and accelerating what the progressives want to do in the first place, collapse the system and start all over again, because this is antiquated. This Constitution is old and dusty. They're doing a pretty good job, no? Progressivism is a cancer. And if we keep going down this road, all of our cities will be crumbling because you'll be paying for the dirtbag cities that made choices to do crazy stuff that you weren't involved in.
I'm Ben Stein. There is no doubt that pension plans and benefits and guarantees for government workers in the states and municipalities of America are going to wreak havoc. They're already wreaking havoc. It can't last. There is no reason why a hard-working taxi driver or bank teller should have to subsidize at astronomical pension rates a retired civil servant. It's just not right, and it's going to bankrupt America.
Next, I'm going to tie this crash course all together. Back in a moment. So here's what we learned during tonight's crash course on the destruction of the U.S. economy. Let's go over it once again. A man named Richard Cloward and a woman named Frances Fox Piven gave birth to a strategy to economically collapse America so a new system could be put in place where the rich step down so the poor can step up to power. That strategy was adopted by Acorn.
We are Acorn! We are Acorn! Mighty, mighty Acorn! Mighty, mighty Acorn!
Students for a Democratic Society, and loads of other progressives and radicals who are now helping ruin our country.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
We learned that the $1 trillion health care bill is a massive redistribution of wealth. Even the New York Times says so. It's 1/6 of our economy, and the president admits the bill is being used to transform the economy, just gradually, though, and not in one fell swoop.
Yes, it's 1/6 of the economy, but we're not transforming 1/6 of the economy all in one fell swoop.
The financial reform bill, we learned, is a financial disaster.
How do we pass a law that passes the buck from lawmakers to appointed bureaucrats? It takes 2,300 pages just to outline the different groups of people who can later come and figure this out. What is wrong with us, America?
So was the takeover of General Motors. Taxpayers are being promised they're going to get all their money back from that, but where's the money coming from?
They took this money, along with a little bit more of yours, and put it in here in a government loan bucket. Then they took that money and gave it to GM. Well, GM needed to pay that money back. So here's what they did. They took this money back 5 years early, you know. That's how they paid you back. That's it. You feeling paid back?
We learned that Glenn, along with the Cato Institute, found $400 billion to trim from the federal budget. And we learned that big labor's unfunded pension plans are bankrupting America. I'll tell you what's coming up tomorrow, next. That's it for tonight. A special big thanks to Ben Stein for his enlightening commentary throughout the program. For more economic words of wisdom from Ben, his latest book is called The Little Book of Bulletproof Investing. If you want to see more of me, tune in to Freedom Watch on the Fox Business Network, Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night, our next crash course is on the radicals that surround the president. From New York, defending freedom. Good night, America.